Since YouTube has a 10-minute maximum, this program has been broken into 2 parts. This is part 1. Be sure to look at part 2 also. Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and we're here at This Is the Place Park. This is one of the most wonderful places you can be, and later on we'll go on down to Temple Square and some of the other places. But if you come to Salt Lake, Utah, you need to come up here to this park. There's a free movie, and then there's a village here that's second to none. So come on up here and we'll go out and we'll show you some videos from it. Before we go into the park itself and see the animals and the artisans and all the shops, maybe it's important that we look at this statue and get a feeling for why this is such an important place in Mormon history, and probably in the history of the United States. This was a group that was persecuted in the Midwest and was forced to leave. And they came across those jagged mountains in the background, and when they got to this plateau, their leader, Brigham Young, said, "This is the place." Many of the original travelers had died in the route, and of course there were some new additions. But they stood in this promontory and looked out across a beautiful valley. We see houses there now, we see haze there now, we see automobiles there now. But when they looked at it, none of that exists. There's beautiful trees. They can see the water of the Great Salt Lake way off in the distance. All of those things came to them, and they were glad, and they gave rejoiceful thanks. One of the first things you'll see when you enter the park is the Monument Cafe. And you want to go in there because there's some good things to eat. There's many gifts that you can look at, but there's also a free movie on Brigham Young and the struggles that took to get to where they were today. In the park, you'll ride in a coach that will take you around. It's a little train, and people are having fun, and I never saw a place that was more family friendly. It's a place where children are encouraged, and there's things to look at, see, and do. There are multiple shops that'll take you back into the old days. If you went to Williamsburg and saw the printers and things like that, many of those things are here, and then more. So it's a great place to go visit. When you get on the tram the first time, you will start by going past a working farm. And there are all kind of farm animals for those city kids to see. And those that are farm children, you'll recognize a lot of it too. Once you get in this tram, it will take you to the Brigham Young Forest House. That house was moved to this property in about 1973. Many of Brigham Young's wives lived in this house. I won't go into polygamy. It's too hard to go back and reconstruct. But understand, at the time, polygamy was legal in the United States and sanctioned by the church. As I understand it, that is not the case today and hasn't been for probably 100 years or better. Within this house there are many rooms. However, we'll only look at one of them. Most important is that when we pull up in front of this house, you'll notice a man in period garb. And there are people like that dressed all over this facility. This particular person is in the garb of and the persona of Brigham Young. And he welcomes guests as they come up the walk, and it's a wonderful feeling. You feel like you step back into history. The rooms themselves are large, they're very spacious, they're very cool, and it's a nice thing to visit. It's a shame that we didn't have more time on our tape to be able to give you a better tour of this house. But that leaves something for you to do. So when you get the opportunity, go meet Brigham Young, take the tour, and learn some wonderful facts about this particular
the ladies
facility.
that stayed here, a cool room where they kept their cheeses and butter.
Okay.
I believe these chairs.
Well, this is the actual press right here, and it's here that they print newspapers. As you can see, we've got a few up there drying right now. But if you step over here for a second, I'll show you how this is done. Right here you have the type. Each individual letter, like right here. I don't know if you can tell which one that is.
I?
Kind of, it's close. It's actually an L backwards.
Oh.
On the very end.
Don't see it.
Very end right there.
Oh.
It's where the P's and Q's came into.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just real small right here.
Okay.
Just there right on the end, that's the type. And what you do is back then you'd have a type setter who would come up and you'd take this right here and you'd take this little card, you'd pin it to his sleeve, and he'd have all this memorized without even looking. He'd just be sitting here.
Typewriter.
He'd be looking at the story as he did it. He'd just put it down without even having to take his eyes off of it. And then after he got a few rows here finished, he'd come over to this and take the row that he did and put it here into this. And this would be one column in a paper. In this case, with this one, you can see right here, this would actually be 2 columns that you can put in here. But he'd put one column in here, and it would take about 3 hours to do one column. So you can imagine how many people you'd need to really put a newspaper out. Well, once that was done, they'd come and they'd bring it over here, actually over here first, to this little press, where they would, and it would be in something kind of like this. See how this is? How it's all backwards? That's the other thing, is they'd have to be able to put it backwards. They'd stick it in here, and then press it this way, and then look for typos afterwards. So it'd just be kind of like a preliminary copy. After they finish that, they come over here. These are ink pads. And over here is this piece of granite where they put the ink on, and they can get it on these real good.
And you used granite because it was porous, huh?
Exactly, no. It's not porous.
Yeah, granite is porous.
It kind of, the water doesn't
Doesn't go all the way through it, but
go all the way through
but it's got pores in it.
Yeah, they used it because it was a good solid surface too. They didn't want like sandstone to break apart and things, so.
It's hard.
But then they come over here and they put the ink onto the plates here after they finished.
Those pads leather? Or rubber?
Yeah, there's leather and there's like cotton inside of them, but kind of a bowl shape. You can put cotton and then cover it in leather. And they take their paper, open this, like that. Put it down, roll it under here. Now would you like to press it? Go ahead and push this over. Just after you push, yeah, after you push though, make sure you let it go back easy or else it will just fling right back. So you come back here and then just slowly let it go. There we are. And that's pressed. Back out. Hear that? There's your paper. Now, you know how long it takes for this to dry? A day,
Okay.
actually. Or overnight, they'll have to dry it. So we'll move this over here because it's real ink. We don't want to get it on there. Just put it right here for now. But what they do after that, though, is they get this and they bring this over here. This is actually what the first edition of the Deseret News was. But what they do is,
This was the first edition?
yeah, they'd come. So that's how they print a newspaper. Now, as you can tell, the books would be a little harder. There's so many different pages. And actually right here's a copy of it if you'd like. It was printed on the press. If you want to take a look at it. I'm taking one of these.
This ends part 1 of This is the Place. I know you'll enjoy part 2, and you can find that on YouTube. However, if you'd really like to see this in its entirety without having to go to another part of it at YouTube, then go to hodgesvideos.com, hodgesvideos.com, and look in the On the Road section. You'll find this and several other videos I think you'll find very interesting. Have a great day and enjoy.